go into game 2, and game 2 is going to start with the picks and bans, Hindu.
Oh, look at
I
you.
got the magic fingers bringing
now.
up the picks and bans for y'all. So let's see if Burrito can do a little bit better job here. Valance taking out Jingwei. Is that specific for Burrito? Maybe a throwaway from first pick? What
Super safe. Super safe. And
Yeah.
it's not necessarily specific for Burrito, but you do seem like to run it quite often.
Yeah.
It's one of these things that can get poked at in lane early on, still keep up in farm because you can get back harpies every single time they spawn on the way back from base.
Zadman and Barracuda could talk about that
Exactly.
one.
Well, I mean, unless, you're in NA, but we're in EU right now. It's a bit of a different story. RTO ban, not a surprise. Kamazot's ban, no shock.
No, Kamazot's doing absurd amounts of damage from the jungle. Just don't want to have to deal with any part of that. And RTO with way too much control. Burrito also banning out the Erlang Shen, taking a look at some of the tankier ones, while Valance taking a look at some of the more damaging.
It's funny to see the rise of Erlang Shen. He's been there. He's been near the top of the pool of the Warriors. It's just because the other Warriors got a couple of little nerfs. The likes of Raven, the likes of Odin, they got trimmed at the top, so the people that were at the top then fall down. So the guys that are in the middle of the pack, just a little bit lower, they just rise. So that's the only reason Erlang Shen's on that list.
Burrito consider Erlang Shen more of a threat than the Terra, letting BigManTingz one more time have that for Valance Squadron. And now Burrito wants to have the Skadi run that back one more time. And they take Chulainn as well. So don't want to let that be piloted by Valance.
And I think this is a better call from them because they drafted the Ao Kuang very early last game. We saw that Ao Kuang, Johnny couldn't get in the game at all.
No.
From moment one, he had his buffs invaded, and that's how you deal with an Ao Kuang. If you want to pick something like that, you have to look at what Valance Squadron are going to do with their comp first before you maybe look at drafting it, because they'll try and pick it apart.
Looks like we kind of just switched the solo laners here, as this time Valance Squadron are going to have Bellona, and they felt real good about that Muzen Cobb, and I don't blame them. And picking it here is so smart. As you said, it's a bit of a flex for him between Funballer and Lawbster, so taking it here, now Burrito's not sure, do they ban out a mage, do they ban out maybe like a Hui or something like that?
And the question is that if they do put the AMC back in the duo lane again, and they also potentially run the Thoth, I would like to see Burrito maybe ban the Thoth to try and slow down the potential mid-power push. If they ban Thoth, and then they also pick up Sol, they should have lane clear advantage in that mid lane, or at least even out with AMC, because the other mages are not so good at the early level 1 wave clear as the Thoth as well as the Sol.
Burrito do end up picking up Ganesha, very likely going to be their support as well. They ban out Nemesis and Ramen. Not surprised to see Nemesis banned out here. Faeles was playing that very well last game. Valance taking out Osiris as well as Odin.
Yeah, I mean, Osiris is just an easy one in case it's going to get run in the jungle, a sort of tankier option, or Chulainn in the jungle, Osiris in the solo lane, potentially as well. But Susano in the jungle this time for Johnny. A little bit more mobility overall, and obviously definitely kill potential as well, a bit more CC provided than that of the Ao Kuang, and not so worried about bees.
Susano picked up here as Serqet's locked up for Valance Squadron. I think his control is a little bit understated, what Susano is able to bring, especially in a comp like this where Ganesh doesn't have maybe as much hard CC as you'd like to see. Being able to pull, being able to have them, in that ultimate as well, does provide a little bit more for that team, as we see Thoth also locked in for Valance.
Ooh, Aphrodite, hello.
Yeah. Aphrodite picked up here for him. Looks like going to be their mid laner, I suppose. We can put Aphrodite mid here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm saying K because you pick a healer like Aphrodite into a Serqet, which isn't always the greatest thing in the world anyway. So whoever gets hit by that Serqet ultimate, obviously you're not going to get any heal. It's all anti-heal focus there. Obviously she can ult herself and a teammate. Aphrodite does have some nice things in the kit, but wave clear early on isn't very strong. And when you saw what Funballer did last game starting in the mid lane with Thoth, then Aphro's not going to have fun in this mid lane trying to clear early on. Even with Susano, they'll be okay. But again, say if it's Thoth and AMC, then it's going to be a problem. If we do, however, see Funballer go towards the mid lane here at the start, what I would like to see change is Fusify and the Ganesh actually come to start in the mid lane. Because Fusify in the mid lane start with the Elephant, the fact that he's that level 1 clear is actually really strong and empowers your team to clear a little bit quicker too, don't forget. So that would actually help against this push power a little bit of the AMC and the Thoth if that happened, which means you can defend your buffs just a little bit easier.
Because last game, what we saw from Fusify is that they chose to go up and invade those buffs on the duo lane side, and not much really came from it.
Yeah.
So I agree. If we see Fusify instead go in and try and help FaraKrik, and not just FaraKrik really, but Johnny as well, maybe keep a little bit more control over these jungle camps, they won't fall nearly as far behind in the early game to the point where Johnny was essentially a non-factor. He really couldn't have any kind of impact.
And it's happening again. Look, you can see where the two are, and I love the adjustment. We've seen Fusify come mid here, leave Skadi 1v1 against a Terra. Terra. That's fine. And this can answer back some of the clear. See how the clear's going now? So it's not going to be as easy for Burrito to get pressured on that speed buff side unless the dual lane on the right, the solo lane, I should say, manages to pressure too. There is a chance they could defend this a little bit easier, though. The two in mid lane could look to invade the red on the left-hand side from Burrito, pressure the mid wave, go straight for the red, or invade the enemy jungle. And this is a great call from Burrito here. They can't stop their own jungle going, so they'll go and take their enemies.
And they had to here because Valance Squadron already cleaned up the blue buff and the speed as well. So Burrito come down, get the speed buff here.
Change your mind.
Instead, they stick around, and Valance Squadron recognize it. Ducky putting in a bunch of damage on the Sibi as well as Faeles, but Fusify and FaraKrik get here first. So for a moment, it'll be a 4 versus 2. Faeles immediately gets taken down by Dzoni. Ducky trying to catch up to Sibi, and Funballer ends up getting credit for that kill. Now it's Ducky raining in the hammer onto Dzoni, who takes the beads as well. Those beads are going to be on cooldown, and he's back at base.
And now FaraKrik in trouble too. Well, you got a link. What else are you going to do? Throw out some doves? That's all you're going to be able to do now because there's still 3 people chasing you down. Lawbster's going to get a beautiful stun off. He just held it nicely to pick up another kill. And that's why I said bad call. The biggest problem that they made there was that Burrito collapsed on speed buff. They take speed. What they should have done from the solo lane side is go towards the mid lane because they had pressure in mid, and the mid lane and support should have actually come to the right hand side to support them. They would have been grouped as a 4-man unit early on and have an easy escape route. By going in as 2 and just trying to wander back to solo as if they're not going to realize what you're doing, you're going to get killed. You're going to get pressured. Luckily enough, they did get first blood.
And they should have been able to recognize that Valance Squadron weren't even on the map anymore. They'd already cleared those solo lane minions, and they'd already taken all your buffs. So it's not as if they had anywhere else to be on that solo lane side of it. So Burrito get punished in engagement. As you said, they do take the first blood, but 3 return kills going the way of Valance Squadron. Most importantly, Ducky is 2-0 up right now. 2 kills for him in that lane against Sibi is going to make it tough. Sibi, still level 3.
And the good news is, though, Dzoni, still now level 4, but he was the one that got that first blood. So getting him a little bit more gold early on is very helpful. Bad news is he died early, so he loses the speed buff that he did manage to steal away.
Yeah,
and he also had to go to base early, which means he didn't manage to get any more gold online for himself to finish off his boots a little bit more. But Burrito will get a bit of control on the left for now.
Things actually going well for BigManTingz over here in that engagement against Kespainify. He's actually level 5 right now. And remember, earlier on in the game, that's sort of how they started off. It was Kespainify and BigManTingz duo laning it up as a solo lane, really, on this left side. BigManTingz, though, already getting the root out. Ganesh trying to use that Ohm to get some silence out, but Funballer doing so much early damage. Beads come out for Kespainify to try and avoid the clap. BigManTingz uses the ultimate, but they give up on the chase since Kespainify used his as well. But Ducky able to take down Sibi.
So while on the left-hand side the fight's going on, the ultimate from BigManTingz comes out and it influences the whole map as per usual.
Yep.
You give Serqet some extra mobility. She's not going to be upset about that. Continue to camp Sibi a little bit more there on the right-hand side. Keep the pressure on. It means, look at the timing of the gank too, by the way, on the right. Look at where the speed is and the blue is. They're both about to spawn, and this gank timing from Faeles was to force him back to base at the worst-case scenario and allow for the pressure in the jungle once more.
They get off that proxy farm, too, so there won't be a wave to meet the wave in right. So if Sibi does come over to try and contest this buff, that'll be even more going into the tower. They go for the speed buff here first as Valance, and Ducky, using that 3-0-0, is trying to zone out Dzoni, who immediately commits his ultimate.
He gets his buff?
Getting low, they do secure the buff, and Sibi chooses to keep going in, uses the ultimate, but Faeles able to jump out.
Ducky to the rescue. Faeles was dead there, and if it wasn't for Ducky's Eagle Rally there in place, just stunning out Sibi, it would have been an easy kill for Sibi to pick up and he'd be able to get away. But now, in the end, Valance will be able to go back to their own side of the jungle, heal back up with the bombers, masks, and they're all going to be fine once more.
I'm a little worried for Burrito that Ducky is 3-0-0 right now. Last game, he was such a menace for them. We saw him at times zoning out 4 members of the enemy team, so he's certainly capable of playing his early lead when he gets it. He just showed it to us in the last game. And Bellona can very well have a big impact in these engagements too.
It's also the balance of the back line versus front line with this composition too. Lawbster and Funballer are basically going to be self-peeling for themselves.
Yeah.
But the one thing that you're going to be able to do is they can sit quite far back and deal a lot of damage in these team fights that will potentially go unnoticed for long periods. While Ducky's swinging away in your face, you're so focused on getting him away from you, you're not realizing you're getting these beams of death over the wall from Lawbster, as well as bees chasing you around too.
Burrito are keeping this game closer than last game, though. Only about a 1,500 gold lead in favor of Valance Squadron. 4-1 are the kills. Once again, though, experience is the one that's more in favor of Valance. Probably on that solo lane side that we've been talking about, though, a little bit more than anywhere else.
Sure, I think the biggest thing I've noticed from Burrito through the year is Faeles is a little bit too far forward. Oh, that kiss miss from FaraKrik. Not sure he wanted it to, but Faeles is now in an awkward spot. He should be able to get picked off here.
Fusify commits the Dharmic Pillars, and Faeles uses his ultimate just to try and slow down some of the damage, but a 4-man collapse on top of him gets him an easy kill there, going the way of Sibi to try and help in that solo lane.
That's just overconfidence from Faeles there. Wanting to try and get the creep on the right-hand harpies. Pretty sure we'll see that in the Valance Squadron video that they always like to release of Funballer basically just saying to his team, what were you guys thinking? What are you doing? You stupid fool.
They're funny videos. I like watching them too, and it's good that they do something like that as a team, as the way to make looking back over the games fun, which is it's very helpful. Gives us a bit of insight as well. We saw a nice play from Dzoni over there too, using some of that kit he has there on Susano to interrupt Ducky in the middle of that bludgeon as well. So that's another interaction that could end up being important as Kespainify comes over here to take these two oracles uncontested. The ability to shut down some of that bludgeon damage could be a big deal in the late game too.
It's funny because Burrito last split when we were watching, the biggest issues they had generally was getting themselves out of the early game consistently well. Sorry, they were fine in the early game. It was the mid game was where they started to struggle. Hang on, Faeles is dead again.
Yeah, Faeles is in a lot of trouble, able to outrun the damage. And now Fusify using the ultimate just to try and get away from BigManTingz. Lawbster, though, diving in onto FaraKrik, getting lots of damage and forcing his ultimate out. Funballer ends up getting the credit for it.
Bees to the rescue, and now Funballer's going to use the Aegis to stay alive long enough for some support from his team. He'll get away, but so will Dzoni. BigManTingz, though, still feeling aggressive. As on the right-hand side, Ducky is going to solo down Sibi. And now the speed buff under threat, and Dzoni's here trying to do it, but in comes Ducky with a big old bludgeon. He won't be able to secure the speed. Get away, Dzoni. Get the speed and run. Get the speed and run. He made it.
He was able to get out there.
It's the small things, John. It's the small victories. Things.
That's the exact interaction I was talking about, though. That's what helped him secure that speed buff and able to avoid some of that damage coming up from the bludgeon. Funballer, though, they're not as successful on that left-hand side. He takes that red buff away from Burrito, so they are able to get that farm on this side. Dzoni happy just to have his speed buff around his waist, but again, getting soloed out, Sibi was by Ducky. That's rough.
So going back to what I was saying about Burrito, last split, they were good in the early game. They struggled in mid-game, and they were trying to fix their mid-game so much that I think they've gone too far on working on their mid-game that they've forgotten how to deal with the early game pressures of the map that it consists. And this is where Valance Squad have really abused them here today. Game 1, it was a really clear, obvious sign of that. And Game 2, it's kind of fallen into the same sort of area once again. Burrito need to just find that balance of controlling the early mid. Early is where they're really struggling right now, because I feel that mid-game has improved this recently, considering they've been performing well, but not well enough in the early now.
Sibi, Dzoni, and FaraKrik rotate over to at least force them off the elementals, but it looks like thanks to that long-range damage from Lawbster, they're able to get some of that back. But I want to talk a little bit here about the pressure from Valance. Where I've really seen it coming up is Fusify hasn't gotten to use his Dharmic Pillars aggressively as BigManTingz rotates into the backline, immediately stunned out, though, by FaraKrik. And now it's BigManTingz versus 3. Lawbster responding, though, with that final judgment to get Fusify low. Faeles jumps in and puts the ultimate on him to try and take out that damage, and they do all stay away and give up on Fusify.
Burrito shouldn't keep fighting this. They need to get out of this fight now. They've already lost their support. There's absolutely no reason to chase this. Why are we going in? I don't like this call to aggress. Dzoni's still going in, looking to pick off Lawbster. He's going to find it, but now he's deep, and the rest of the Burrito are having to dive too.
Lawbster also giving up his beads there. Dzoni not able to be a part of this fight as he had to go back past the tier 2 tower, rotating in to try and stop Faeles, who's going in on FaraKrik. The healing from Aphrodite now is coming out big, healing them both up, and they get a quick double kill in favor of Kespainify. Now it's 3 for 0 in favor of Burrito, and looks like they're running towards the Gold Fury.
Okay, I'll hold my hands up, Burrito. Okay. Like, the call would seem terrible, and I'll tell you why it seemed terrible, because you've actually got a 4v5 scenario kicking off the fight. Right at the beginning of that. You've used a lot of abilities to try and get your team out of the engagement in the first place, and then you look to recommit against Valance Squad. Bit risky in a 4v5 scenario.
Right now, the Gold Fury very low. Burrito doing a good job of turning onto Ducky after he commits to it. They completely given up on the objective for now, but Lawbster takes down Sibi in the back, and Kespainify takes down Ducky. BigManTingz getting that root off onto several members and backing off.
Would have preferred them to really look there for the actual pick of the Gold Fury over than the kills. Lawbster's getting very aggressive now, though. Knowing he's on full health, and these are all injured members of Burrito, He can keep the pressure on and keep them busy. He's getting no support, however, for a minute, but keep an eye where Faeles and Funballer are. They are swinging in for the kills.
Lawbster very aggressive, gets taken down by Dzoni, but Fusify is here under a lot of trouble from Faeles, and he kind of just recognizes that he's dead to rights there. And this is where them choosing not to go for the objective could potentially be a problem. Valance Squadron now have the kill advantage, and they're coming back towards this Gold Fury.
Kills at the end of the day aren't what win you games. It's the objectives that win you the games.
Hindu man, we played maybe like 1 or 2 games of Conquest there before, and you told me, John, no one cares about these objectives. What are you doing? Why are you going for kills? That's what we're seeing happen here. When they go for those kills instead of the objectives, they leave it back up for Valance Squad. They come back in. They don't really win the fight handily or anything like that, but it's because they're the ones that end up with the pressure on that side. They're able to take the objective.
So if you look at the graphs, and you can actually see how the graphs ended up having there. Look at the spike back up. So all that work Burrito did in that little fight towards mid and then the attempt at the Gold Fury, they did well to get to that point. But the Gold Fury just went, okay, well, Valance have pretty much held their lead. They haven't lost that much anymore.
And I like the call that they made, too, because at least it was concise to all give up on the Gold Fury and try and lock down that kill. So at least what we're seeing from Burrito is that they are all willing to hard commit to the call once we get it. So I think that is good for their comms, at least, that now we know the calls are coming through cleanly and they're willing to commit to it. And the game is certainly not over as Lawbster once again getting caught out, but BigManTingz at least does rotate in. It's definitely not enough, though. Dzoni gets credit for that kill.
Yeah, Lawbster's not playing to the standard that I've seen Lawbster play at before, really. Dashing into these fights, trying to get more damage off than just disengaging. I mean, he could have just dashed away, also had beads up there. A little bit overly aggressive from Lawbster here. This doesn't feel like Valance from game 1. This feels like they're just trying to have a little bit more fun with this game. It's kind of telling, which isn't necessarily the best thing in the world to watch.
Duck and BigManTingz are able to clean up. Fusify is now, Faeles is the one that jumps in, and that lets Ducky take down FaraKrik. Sibi in that range form is a bit on the run, gets the 2-man stun, but not enough. Ducky ends up taking down Sibi as well. Now it's BigManTingz trying to lock down Dzoni.
Dzoni will get out for now. The Portal Demon is available, though, and with Funballer now swinging over here, only really Kespainify can try and defend this, but against the 4-man army of Valance Squad, it's not going to be the easiest thing in the world, so more objectives once again going to go the way of Valance.
Valance Squadron are able to secure that Portal Demon. I want to talk a little bit more about Lawbster, though, because you brought him up. It's one thing if you want to play this aggressive, but it doesn't seem to jive with going with the Doom Orb, because when he does end up falling into losing those stacks out. So do you think, what's happening there with that?
I mean, to be fair, that happens sometimes where you get Doom Orb and you get yourself in an awkward spot, but Doom Orb is a fantastic item to give you that power spike earlier on Thoth than you're going to have otherwise. Yeah, you could go for the Book of Thoth rush if you wanted to, but mana regeneration, in my opinion, is very, very useful to stay in fights longer and keep using abilities.
Dzoni not able to box out with Faeles, though. Gets taken down in the 1v1. Sibi here, trying to look for something, but Ducky's enough to push him back off.
Yeah, there won't be anything else there. Look at Ducky's level to Sibi's, and now more pressure for Sibi because he's only level 10. There's no buffs up, but, well, the speed's about to spawn. I think that's why BigManTingz is just having a good time on this side now, because if you do see Sibi commit in any way to this minion wave, Tings is going to come in. They might even be able to tower dive him at this point, to be honest. It's not going to be too much difficulty in doing so. With 3 men, it's even easier.
It looks like that was the call. They had a 3-man rotation over here to the solo lane side. They at least get tier 1, but 4 members of Burrito are lurking in the jungle. Fusify trying to catch out Ducky. He is able to get to somebody slides because of the permafrost, getting a little bit further away. BigManTingz, they get to the root off, and they're able to stop the engagement. Good interaction for Ducky.
So Valance Squad get the tier 1 tower on the right, and managed to get the whole of Burrito to rotate to the right-hand side. Meanwhile, on the left-hand side, we've got Funballer stripping away the red buff, stripping away the purple buff, and also making sure that Kespainify loses minions to the tower.
Dzoni forced to
rotate. It's a good win,
over.
right?
That's big for Valance Squadron. No. And that definitely went in their favor, and we can see it coming out here in that gold lead too, which is closer to 4,000 now, actually getting close to 5,000 at 4,700. The experience lead still very much in favor of Valance Squadron, and in a large part that's sitting on top of Ducky, who I believe is 6, 1, and 4 right now. He's all over the map, and he's really, really difficult for Burrito to try and deal with when he uses that rally here to go in on the backline like Dzoni, like FaraKrik.
Yeah, I do want to see Valance Squad, now that they got that tier 1 tower on the right, start to rotate around the map a little bit more and start shredding down these towers now. They could just use 3 or 4 members and then also use the Terra ultimate to bring the other members in if required later on. But with how this is looking right now, they could just continue pressuring the towers. Obviously, with an AMC, they're going to be able to shred through the towers relatively quickly as time goes on, especially once this next item that you're going to see Funballer pick up is finished. The Executioner will help a little bit more.
Funballer has backed, and I think this is good back timing. Gold Fury not too far from respawning again, so this is the chance for Valance Squadron to go back, get wards, get vision, and we do see that like all those sentry wards in their inventory to try and set up for this next big fight, which is going to be the Gold Fury, which is close to spawning at this point. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a little bit of that push towards this duo lane side.
Can we see the wards place? Oh, thank you so much. The camera already done it, I was about to ask for it. Yeah, wards place at the moment. I mean, you can see most of the time it seems to be coming down to Burrito's support more than anything else. That is the major one to, well, FaraKrik's a bit far forward there. FaraKrik's a little bit too far forward. He's only down to half. Look at Ducky around the back. Look at Funballer around the left too. Here comes the collapse, and here's the pressure.
Ducky jumped in onto FaraKrik, but FaraKrik is able to slip out. Now it's Fusify ends up the odd man out under a lot of pressure. Final Judgment comes through and hits two. Ducky able to take down Fusify.
And that was just with a nice little bludgeon that was already winding up as the Thoth came through. Gold Fury available on the left-hand side here. And Valance Squad can just easily rotate back towards it now and look to get some more gold in their coffers.
And once again, we're seeing the impact that Ducky's having in this game with that lead, able to rotate into the fight well before Sibi land in with that rally here as Valance Squadron kind of forced Burrito into that tight corridor there between the jungle and the duo lane, and BigManTingz keeping Burrito away from that Gold Fury as they take it for free.
So BigManTingz keeps him away, but look where Ducky and Faeles were too. They were both waiting in the wings to support BigManTingz. They knew that AMC and Thoth could do this solo, and now they can commit in mid, and FaraKrik's down to half. No ultimate available, so that's a dead Aphrodite.
And that's what Serqet likes to do, recognizing when Aphrodite is low, jumps in at the end to try and help clean it up. Ducky does get the credit as Sibi now in that rage form. Dzoni is able to return on the Faeles, but Ducky was waiting behind to try and take care of it for him. Sibi was trying to take down Lawbster, but looks like Lawbster blew him up. Kespainify also in a lot of trouble with Funballer.
And Kespainify will get away though, thanks to the nice little glacial on the ground, and mid lane Fusify's going to fall too, so there should be a tier 1 tower mid into a portal demon and maybe even look to a sneaky fire giant. They've got a bit of time here. It's only FaraKrik and Kespainify alive. They could go, I think maybe fire giant might just be the call here.
That ended up being a 4-for-1 trade overall in favor of Valance Squadron. About an 8,000 gold lead here now, and as you correctly called, they go directly for the Fire Giant after taking the tier 1 tower down in mid. Only Kespainify is even capable of trying to get over here in time, and already we see Ducky going over to try and zone.
I know you say that, but he saw speed buff. Now he's changed his mind though, and he's like, okay, we get the Fire Giant, we fall back to base. A couple of us need to buy. We've got our own jungle to take here. We don't need to buy off any more than that. Once again, objectives, objectives, objectives. This is the signs. The Valance Squadron know all this though, but they've got to get more consistent. They seem to be having fun in some of these games at the lower end, and it's fine to have fun. You know, you play video games for fun. But if you're playing in the professional circuit, you're also playing to try and be the best team in the world, or one of the best teams in the world. And if you're going to make silly mistakes in these games because you're having too much fun sometimes, that can come back to haunt you because your game face isn't going to be on for the big games sometimes too, and those mistakes end up hurting you.
Takes him about 10 minutes longer to get to that 9k gold lead in this game than it did last game, but it's already starting to feel like what we felt in game 1, that Valance Squadron are firmly in control. Funballer picking up that red buff, and Lawbster looking for the stun, already chonking Fusify, who just is not tanky at this point in the game, and they get his Dharmic Pillars for really no cooldowns from Valance.
I love the adjustments that Valance Squadron are making though, because I've not seen them playing a little while myself, like actually casting it, but I love the fact that I'm getting to watch Funballer and Lawbster do what they were used to doing when they used to be paired with Cuvo, Fred, and Trickstank. They're not getting as much support. They're doing things on their own because they realize that together they have a very good synergy of being the two backliners. They are used to being the backliners and looking after each other and themselves a lot more, which is allowing the likes of Ducky, Faeles, and BigManTingz to do whatever they want on the front line and turn up later on.
And that is that's what Valance Squadron look like when Valance Squadron looks unbeatable. This is what it looks like. It looks just like you said, Funballer and Lawbster in the back line, and then letting Ducky and Faeles do what they want in the front. That's what we're seeing here as Ducky gets just a bit of a split push, trying to split the focus of Burrito and help get the minion waves up to that mid tower as the tier 2 and tier 1 in left fall, and now Valance Squadron rotating for tier 2 in mid as well. Again, this all made possible by catching out Fusify and Kespainify early on that duo lane side.
And I will say the one thing Burrito needs to do for themselves for the rest of the split is put a block on Fusify looking for the red buff of the enemy. Like, he loves, for some reason, he thinks that red buff is his when he plays support, and he gets caught out more often than not when he goes to that red buff and ends up paying with his life or being forced out of a fight before it's even begun. They've got to be careful about that stuff because that's where it's hurting them for free every single time.
Dzoni on the right side did clear the tier 1, but Sibi trying to go forward and get a knock-up immediately takes 70% of his HP for his trouble. Ducky ultimate comes out, but immediately pulled back in by Dzoni. This is the kind of setup that they're looking for. Lawbster, though, turns it back around, gets a kill. Funballer gets one as well.
Funballer gets 2, because once again, the Bees gave him the first one, and now in with the damage goes BigManTingz. He'll get himself 1, and that's just going to force poor old FaraKrik back towards his Phoenix, but he won't be able to get there completely for free without at least having to use his Aegis.
And that looked like the kind of setup Burrito were kind of looking for. Dzoni able to pull several members back into some of the damage from FaraKrik as well, but the fight at Valance Squad was just too far ahead. What we saw there was their lead come into play. No way for Burrito to turn that fight back around. 5 members strong are Valance Squadron, taking down the tier 1 as FaraKrik and Fusify, the only members to have anything to say about this Phoenix, which has already been taken down.
And now it's just a fallback situation once again. Spear buffs up for Burrito, so they can go and take that one. Go spend some gold, maybe. I'm not sure how much gold in hand they have. They should have a little bit after managing to get those towers down too. So yeah, just around 3,000 for BigManTingz there, who, if you look at the builds, they're already on 56 items anyway.
That's what went so wrong for Burrito in that last team fight, is that Valance Squadron are just this far ahead in the items department. Really a whole full item, actually 5 levels for BigManTingz over Fusify, who we see routinely getting deleted in this game. That's a big problem.
But don't fall for that little thing of BigManTingz being that far ahead. By the way, I like this call from Burrito to go for gold.
Yeah.
But don't fall for that little bait of the support versus support matchup. Because the one thing we've remembered at the start of the game, BigManTingz was left alone in the duo lane.
That's right, yeah.
For a good 5 levels. And if you're going to get solo experience in the first 5 levels, that's going to give you a huge lead as time goes on. The level difference, realistically, is probably a little bit closer to 2 or 3. Not as bad as it may have seemed, just because of the fact that he got 2v1 experience at the start.
No, certainly not that there's anything wrong with the way Fusify has been farming so far, but it certainly explains why he gets blown up so quickly, but also some of that positioning, as you said, going out for those red buffs when perhaps that's not the call. At this point, though, no towers left on the map for Burrito. Phoenix in right-hand side already falling as we see that Fireman Wave trying to start getting up and being a bit of a split push problem for Burrito, and Valance look for that mid lane.
This is Valance really just looking for the Fire Giant to respawn here and maybe catch Burrito trying to come in the jungle and find, you know, a ward towards the Fire Giant to get some vision of what Valance are up to. But Burrito not going to take the bait, which I think is wise in this situation right now. Just sit back, stay at your Phoenixes. It's either stay at your Phoenixes and try and defend there, where Phoenixes are very good to try and defend these days with the changes we made to them, or it's commit to the Fire Giant. If you lose the fight, you lose the game. You win the fight, you're still in it.
Burrito taking this opportunity to push up some of the lanes in mid and right side as Valance Squadron taking down that Fire Giant uncontested, just to try and halt off the push of Valance Squadron the best that they can. Valance recognize it, come down, trying to get those waves catched up. Let's go back, spend some of that gold, and come back and make that push.
Yeah, this should probably be a 2-2-1 push here, and 2 left, 2 mid, 1 right. Just 1 right to get those fire minions there a little bit quicker and make someone have to defend that. And then that person can switch toward mid lane where it'll become a 2-3-0 split with fire minions pushed in. Then you can just pressure both Phoenixes at the same time. One thing that Burrito have in their composition is team fight capability. Obviously with an Aphrodite being able to keep a teammate alive, the amount of damage that Skadi can put on Ganesha in terms of control, and then you've still gone on top of that the Chulainn and the Susano. They're very good at team fighting.
Yes.
So split them apart, use your range. You can still have Thoth ult from left to mid if you get a chance. Nice blink from Dzoni there.
Yeah, blink forced out by Faeles coming in over the wall. I wanted to touch a little bit here on just how well Ducky's playing in this game, though. Look, he's not too far behind Funballer as Dzoni takes a bunch of damage from Lawbster on that duo lane side. Mid Phoenix now is the one being pushed down. Ducky moving in and Fusify trying to get him locked down just for the moment. That target is very tanky, though, and not much comes of it. Now 5-man grouping here in that mid lane is Valance.
And Dzoni's going to clear the wave on the left-hand side. He's looking to try and flank if he can, but you can see where Faeles is just positioned to make sure that if that flank does come around, Faeles is always going to look for FaraKrik or Dzoni if he can. They're the prime targets for him to go on. And with Lawbster's positioning here, he can just zone them away from actually coming towards the mid as this continues on now. It's just all about poking it down with Funballer. Eventually, Burrito are going to have to commit.
And we do see the ultimate come out from Fusify, which says go for him. In the back line is Dzoni, and he gets turned on by Faeles and Lawbster, who are not afraid to take him down. Continuing the fight in mid lane are BigManTingz, Funballer, and Ducky. Look at them cleaning up the kill in the Fusify, no problem. Phoenix still at half health as they just farm up a few kills to make this push even easier for him. Ducky continuing to tank it, goes ahead and backs off, and that mid lane Phoenix looks to fall right, falls as well just from the fire minions, and Faeles continues to push in on left.
Yeah, that was solid from Valance Squad in that final siege there. They just forced Burrito into a corner that they couldn't get out of, and now they just get to commit and clean up the pieces of the last couple of members left, and the Titans exposed. Fire minions on the right will be there in a second, but I don't even think they're going to need them.
No, Valance Squadron are having a field day here, just trying to clean up Sibi, get a few more kills there on that board, as you say. They do like to have fun, do Valance Squadron. Funballer getting credit for it. Titan does fall, and Valance Squadron 29-9 take the set 2-0.
Solid performance from them. Nice to see some more AMC play as well. I do like to see some AMC, and obviously we've seen it mainly in the mid lane, but seeing it now in the duo. Everyone's going to see a lot of AMCs in their games these days.
You sound so happy about it, Hindu.
I am, because I'm just going to play Ymir.
If you recognize that you're in one of Hindu Man's games, please pick AMC for me. DM me a picture of it. I would love to see it. Hindu Man, just loving those games already.
If you're in one of John Finch's games, you're probably playing in wood.
You're playing for sure in silver if you're in one of my games, so pick whatever
Close
you want.
enough, right?
It doesn't matter down here.
Don't try and make jokes with me. That ain't going to work.
Hindu Man calling me out a little bit. That is 2-0 in favor of Valance Squadron. We got plenty more SPL action coming for you, though. We're just going to throw it to a quick break. We'll be right back.